Hello, I am Gibson Shamar with yet another video up on our channel. This time, we take a break from talking about TV shows that I've been watching and we'll talk about a theme that was introduced this year, the importance of continuity. We did it with the Bad Batch Season 3 trailer, we did it with Captain America and the X-Men. This time, we're going to do it with Thor in the MCU. Get your hammers ready because I'm about to put mine down on this ish. So, what do we understand by continuity? Everyone knows the definition of the word, but for the sake of argument and making the point, let me explain. Continuity is described as the maintenance of continuous action and self-consistent detail in the various scenes of a film or broadcast. The emphasis is the term self-consistent. In the context of a video, continuity would be the maintenance of established rules and sayings, as well as consistency with what has been shown. Let's get deeper into context here. In Thor 1, we see a brash and arrogant Thor pick a fight with frost giants and get banished from Asgard by Odin Allfather. Of course, we end up realizing that these things are all happening due to Loki's machinations. Not that Thor wasn't an arrogant guy who needed humbling. But Loki used his attitude and personality to manipulate him into doing some really stupid stuff, like almost starting a war between two realms. Heck, what even is a realm in the MCU? They first treated different realms like they were different planes of reality, but now, after Infinity War, they're treated as just different planets that are very far away. I'll have you know that Yggdrasil's branches are 9, just like we have 9 planets in our solar system. Strange, isn't it? Anyway, back to the topic. In this movie, Thor gets banished to Midgard, also known as Earth, and is stripped of his powers. It is a very tough scene to watch, apparently, and it was reported that folks burst into tears when watching it. I don't quite get it, but hey, we all have different emotional strengths. The key aspect to this scene is how it establishes the journey that Thor would have to go throughout the MCU. His journey was figuring out how best to serve Asgard as a king, but in this movie he had to take the first step in learning something about humility. Hence, Odin enchanted Mjolnir and bound Thor's power to it. The enchantment was, whosoever holds to this hammer, should he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. I had that memorized years ago, and I've always wanted to show off the fact that I memorized it. Man, I love being a geek sometimes. So, Odin enchants the hammer, then casts it to Earth as well, probably so that Thor could one day go and pick it up if he were worthy enough. Until then, the hammer is open to pretty much anyone wielding and owning it if they can lift it. With the added benefit of having the power of Thor, which is dominion over thunder and lightning, super strength, durability, and flight. So, wielding that hammer gives you a lot of benefits, huh? Dang, man. Without it, Thor is powerless. In the comics, him being away from the hammer for 30 seconds would transform him back to his human, powerless, crippled form. In the MCU, he was just powerless when away from the hammer, but once he became worthy of it, he never again lost his power. We saw in Avengers that he used his power, and Joss Whedon, the director of the movie, said that Hulk is the only one in the team with powers of his own. Captain America was a peak human, Black Widow and Hawkeye were just assassins, Iron Man had the armor, Thor had the hammer as the source of his power because, Odin made the worthiness enchantment. Hulk just had the power on his own. He didn't have an external source of power. Thor 2 showed that Thor could go hours without the hammer and nothing would change. Age of Ultron did nothing to establish anything. Thor 3 had his hammer destroyed and nothing happened to him. In fact, Odin comes to him and goes like, "Are you Thor, god of hammers?" That showed us that Thor always had the power within him. But how? In Thor 1, Odin bound the power of Thor to the hammer. At which point did it change back? I mean, it definitely didn't happen on screen, and it happened off screen. Should it not have been explained or mentioned in passing, at least? The power was always within you, my son. Okay, Dad, since when? I mean, yeah, I grew up with that, but for the past 6 years, I've been using this hammer to channel my power because you bound my power to it. uh, yeah, about that. It was all part of the grand design. See, the problem with a lot of franchise movies is that when a new director takes over, they don't always pull off the subtleties the same way the previous ones did. I know that as a director, you want to inject your own stuff, but if you're taking over a franchise from another director, no matter how well received their projects were or how much better yours is, you can't ignore what has been established before or just retcon or add new dimensions to it, like a certain 2019 movie tried to lie to us that it did with its predecessor. Yeah, but we never knew how it worked. Thor got his powers back, so it was done. No, it wasn't. Otherwise, Hulk would have lifted Mjolnir when he was fighting Thor. Otherwise, all the Avengers would have lifted it in Age of Ultron. Captain America lifting it in Endgame wouldn't have been special at all. The worthiness enchantment was there for that reason. Only the worthy get to use the power of Thor. Thor was worthy and so was Cap, which is why Cap could use Thor's power. Okay, but then why did Cap have to hold the hammer in order to have the power? Wasn't he worthy? That's not where it ends, though. We also have something I touched on near the start of the video, his arc. He was being set up by Odin to be the next king of Asgard. Rightfully so, he was the only biological heir. Yeah, but you're forgetting Hela. No, I am not. And I'm actually tired of seeing people talk about that as if it was planned the whole time. No, it wasn't. Either way, she is dead, so he is the only biological heir. The whole point of his journey was to set him up to be the worthy prince or the king, depending on whether or not they would kill Odin. And since they did, he was to be king. That's how his trilogy ended. Yay, great. So now we have the problem of Thanos showing up and killing half his people and snapping half the survivors away a few days later. What does Thor do? He gives it all up and leaves the kingdom to be run by Valkyrie. And even in the end, he doesn't take the kingdom back. He just goes like, here, you have it. You are always a better fit for it anyway. I'm sorry. What? What the heck was the point of your movies then, Thor? Was it not to show you growing as a character and eventually learning what it truly takes to rule? You're telling me that the only character growth you had was in your first solo movie and every other movie was just showing off how powerful you are? Everything you had been through, everything we watched you achieve and lose, and in the end you gave the throne to somebody else? Do you think Odin would have wanted that for you? And now instead you've decided to become an adventurer with the Guardians of the Galaxy? Simply amazing. There are a number of things I would have done differently in Endgame, and Thor's actions in the movie is one of them. I would have him become a depressed guy just like in the movie, but I'd have him become an overprotective isolationist with his people. The Avengers managed to get some space on Earth for the Asgardians to call home, but then Thor shuts himself off from everyone and everything, wanting to protect his people. He grows angry and bitter as well as authoritarian, and only when the Avengers show up with a time travel plot to undo the damage does he go like, fine, I will join you guys, but after that, we're going back to being separate. I must atone for my failures and keep my people safe. Then we have him go through that I'm still worthy thing, and he comes back renewed with hope and purpose. Simple, effective, character-focused, sensible, and most importantly, consistent. That's all we want. The Thor we have now is written inconsistently, and I'm glad to see people finally realize that making him a clown was not the way to go. It's just a shame that the majority still thinks that Ragnarok did it right, when it actually didn't. There was excessive comedy in the movie too. As a good friend of mine said when talking about the movie, I thought Thor is the guy we laugh with, not the guy we laugh at. That is true. Unfortunately, Ragnarok made things differently and people encouraged it. Then, when we get it again in Love and Thunder, they complained and said that it was too much. No, Ragnarok was too much. You're just getting more of what you encouraged in the past. As a consequence of the continued fan service that is being provided by the studio, a notion they continue to deny for some reason, they have actually ruined the character of Thor. In fact, not just ruined the character of Thor, but his story as well. There's no direction for him. There's nothing set for him. Tony Stark learned to atone for his past and finally gave his life for something. Steve had the soldier returning home from war story, which I already complained about in a previous video, but at least it was done somewhat well. Now we have the third member of MCU's Trinity, Thor, and instead of his thing ending with him being king of Asgard, he's just a directionless adventurer now. Is this consistent? No, not really. Is there a way to save the character? Yes, but Twitter won't like it, and unfortunately, that's what matters by the looks of it. There are rumors about Thor 5 being in development, but I don't really have any hopes for it. The MCU has kind of lost focus and is going in too many directions at the same time while on a tight schedule to tie it all together. Don't get me wrong. Having each character do their own thing is cool. In fact, it's encouraged. This is a universe, not a household. But then, if you're on a tight schedule like the one that's being presented to us, you can't really afford to be taking those kinds of liberties without pulling off some miraculous moves. When it comes to Thor, I guess the good old-fashioned, it was all part of the grand design, will have to do. But how long do you expect that line to be used before it gets old? Well, it should have already gotten old by now, but for some reason it's still fashionable. Only time will tell, I guess. Well, everyone, that's it on the importance of continuity for MCU Thor. I hope the video put things into better perspective and that the character is treated better in the future. Check out our Facebook page, our Instagram page, and the rest of the channel here on YouTube. We've got loads of stuff. Have fun, and have a good day.